controversial battle because in the 2 days of fighting, 25,000 casualties on both sides, approximately 14,000 Union casualties, 11,000 Confederate. So, what do you think happens that evening on both sides? What do you think Robert E. Lee and George Meade are doing that evening? Well, we'll tell you first of all on the Union side what George Meade was doing after the second day of battle. He got all of his officers together and they met in a small farmhouse near Gettysburg. So Meade gets all of his officers together and they meet in a small farmhouse outside Gettysburg. Jonathan, did you talk about any of this kind of business? Okay. Well, what Meade does is he conducts what historians refer to as a council of war with his commanders. He gets them all together and has a meeting, which historians call a council of war. Now this is kind of interesting because what do they do in this council of war? What does Meade and his commanding officers do? What do you think they do? What do you think the assistant coaches in basketball do after a ball game? After you guys are gone, they don't probably beat you out the door. At least coaches I know don't. They usually hang around and talk about what? Well, or how it went, right? Geez, what did we do good? What did we do bad? How are we going to fix this, etc. So that's basically what Meade and his commanders did, is they got in this farmhouse at a council of war and talked about how the events of the days went. You know what I mean? Well, how was our progress the first 2 days? What was our lack of progress? What kind of gains did we get? Well, that wasn't unusual that a commander might do that, but usually after they discuss things, who decided what was going to happen next? Alone, one by himself. The general, the overall commander. Well, this was unusual because what Meade did is he actually asked his commanders for a vote, to vote on two options he gave them of what should we do July 3rd, 1863. He gave them two choices of what they should do on July 3rd and asked them to vote on it. Now that's unusual because who makes these decisions at this time? The overall commander. You might ask for opinions on what you think and discuss, but you certainly don't ask for a vote, right? I may listen to you on what you want to do when we go to Washington, D.C., but who's going to make the final decision? I am. We're not going on a vote. I'm going to do what I think's best for you. Now, what were the two options that Meade gave those officers to vote on? Anybody want to take a shot at one? What are two things? Huh? What are two things? What are some options? We kind of heard this before when we talked about the Revolutionary War. We're either going to go blank or go blank. Go big or go home. Now he didn't say that, but my point is this. The first choice was to cut our losses, retreat back to Washington, D.C., be defeated at Gettysburg, but live to see another day, maybe, right? That's the first option, okay? That's the first option. We'll retreat back to Gettysburg, we'll take a defeat here, live to fight another day. What's their second option? Engage the rebels, winner take all. If we win, we're closer to our goal of preserving the Union. If we lose, Civil War could be over in favor of the South. That's the two options. Now, what Meade is implementing here for the first time in American history in battle is consensus building. He's giving his officers a voice in what's going to happen. They're voting. That never has happened. Never happened in the Revolutionary War, ever. Who made the decisions? The commanders, right? Well, he's going to go. If they vote to go home, a majority of them, they're going home. If they vote to stand fast and fight to the end, they're going to do that. That was called consensus building. Well, what do you think the vote was? Fight. It was unanimous, not one dissenting vote. All officers voted to stand and fight the rebels to the bitter end. That was the vote. So that's what happened in Meade's camp. In Lee's camp, it was much different, because do you think Robert E. Lee was into consensus building? No. Lee was a commander. And so what he and his generals were doing the evening of July 2nd, 1863, is they were putting together strategy on what they were going to do on July 3rd of 1863. So on the Confederate side, the Confederate morale is really high. Lee believes without doubt that they will win the Battle of Gettysburg the next day. He believes he's got an ironclad strategy that will lead the South to victory, and victory will lead to a Confederate nation. There's no question in his mind. Okay? His morale is high. And he firmly believes a decisive victory over the Union is imminent, and victory will secure the Civil War for the South. So he meets with his commanders that night and devises a battle plan for July 3rd, 1863 at Gettysburg. And I will tell you tomorrow what that plan was. Now we have a short day tomorrow, so we'll probably get through the plan and we'll implement his plan when we get back on Tuesday. Okay? Any questions at all? Make sure you keep those maps because we're going to need them.